Today's interview is brought to you by TomandDanWateringHoles.com. You can go to TomandDan.com, click on the big Watering Holes banner, and it'll take you to a list of all of our brewery and bar and restaurant partners that we have, including...
Like Tap That Beer House, which, man, I'm getting some emails about these guys. Tap That Beer House is in Davenport. Let me just to walk you how it works. You check your ID in, you walk in, you check in, you start a tab. You're given an RFID card to access the beer wall.
Yep.
They give you a cup, and then you go around, and it's basically game on with delicious craft beer and wine.
A pint glass of whatever beers you want, and so that's in Davenport. So definitely tell them Tom and Dan sent you.
TVs, events, they got live music, they got music bingo, they got 80s trivia. Basically, that's a one-stop shop for beer and fun stuff.
Yeah, also 1010 Brewing, that's TEN, then the number 10 Brewing.
That's our buddy Mike.
Yeah.
His team of ragtag brewers and wonderful people. That is one of my favorite breweries. Sometimes they'll just pull up the garage door, they'll have music, the Big Green Egg is a-smoking, they got great kitchen, great food, and wonderful beers.
Yeah. Close to the studio right here in Orlando.
Definitely walkable if you want to do like that Ivanhoe, like the Mills 50 area. That's a walkable beer place.
Yeah, of course in Sanford, Celery City, West End, also the Sullivan, the current seafood counter in College Park.
Man, if you use Watering Holes in Sanford, we got you covered for everything. You want reggae, we got West End. You want Irish, we got the Sullivan. They got Irish food. You get some shepherd's pie, get a cold pint. Celery City is going to be a little more crafty.
Yep, Salty Sisters in Cocoa Beach. That's Tiffany's Bar.
Did you see the pictures of the toga bar?
Oh, yeah. I saw them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, TomandDanWateringHoles.com. Enjoy Nick Swardson. He's going to be at the Orlando Funny Bone, orlando.funnybone.com.
Yes,
2
sir.
shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow. Get your tickets because it's going to be sold out. Nick Swartson's here. How you doing, Nick?
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you. Good to see you. It's morning. Hold on. I'll do that so we don't have to scream or there we go.
Oh, my gosh.
Now we're
like
good.
the cops have ever been in this area.
Now we're good.
No,
They're
they don't
always
come here.
It's so safe here.
Oh, my Lord.
So we were going to meet you, Nick, back in 2019. You were going to be on a cruise like we do, or we used to do a cruise every year with our listeners, and it just so happened
We have less effort into our podcast now because everyone has them.
Right.
Well, COVID killed it for years.
Yeah.
Like we were doing it every year, then COVID killed it. But back in 2019, our cruise lined up with Ryan Cabrera's cruise. Like it was, and then Nick Swardson, it was supposed to be on the cruise.
And other people that we know, like friends of the show, like Chris Kirkpatrick.
Yeah.
I know Chris very well.
Yeah,
I know him and Ryan. I know all those guys.
Like Chris was my wife's favorite in-syncer. Chris has known me and my wife in the Orlando Circle for so long.
Right.
He bought my wife a Silverchair, the band Silverchair, at an auction. He bought my wife the guitar and gave it to her, and then he signed the back of it. Like, he's such a nice kid.
That's great. He bought somebody else's guitar and signed it?
And then signed it, yeah.
He was clearly blacked out. I know Chris really well.
It was when he had a cane, and he had a little person friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that.
He had a little person friend and a sword cane.
Don't you have a matching tattoo with Chris Kirkpatrick?
I do. We got it on a cruise ship. That's a true story.
Where did you hear that fact?
I talk about it. Oh yeah, I'm comfortable talking about it. It's not a taboo subject. No, I think I talked about it on Conan O'Brien, but yeah. So we did. I'm friends with the band Train. So Pat Monahan is a really good friend of mine.
Okay.
So years ago, like 2016, I did the cruise. I did stand up on his cruise. On the train cruise, and then I'm in the hotel lobby drinking the night before, and I look over and I see Kirkpatrick, and I'm like, "Hey, Chris, what's up, dude?" And he goes, "Hey, Nick," and we just met that instant, and we hit it off. And we were big drinkers. I don't drink anymore, but we were drinking heavily. And then we boarded the ship together, and there's a tattoo artist. He goes, "Hey, man, love both you guys. If you need a tattoo, I'll do it for free." And I remember going, I'm not getting a tattoo on a cruise ship. And Chris was like, yeah, that's stupid. And then by day 4, we were all about it. You could have tattooed our faces. We were like, game on. So we got best trip ever, BTE, the initials. And then I got half of a heart, and he got the other half. And his wife is sitting there, and she's like, is this really happening? And we were like, oh, yeah, it's really happening.
See, we missed that. Like, why didn't it line up? What happened? Like, did that cruise get canceled or what happened? Like, no,
the train cruise is still huge. I just did it in February.
We saw Ryan on the boat.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, back in 19,
It was like something happened where, like, or was there a hurricane or something where people couldn't get into Florida or something?
It was something like that.
Something happened where, like...
Was that cruise Ryan's cruise?
Yes, yeah. Something like that.
Okay, because I was supposed to do it.
Yeah, and then a lot of people started like, oh, they couldn't get in, or there was like a hurricane or this kind of thing. So we ended up just like hanging out with him. But yeah, we were stoked because we're like, oh my God, you're going to be on the boat. Like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that love cruise ships. I got into an argument with Bill Burr on stage about it because he hates cruises.
Oh, I could
so there's
that,
people that are either pro-cruise or anti-cruise.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, fuck cruise. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, and he was like all mad. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. You don't have to drive. You can drink as much as you want.
Yeah.
If you get a drink package, there's food.
Yeah.
There's constant entertainment. You want trivia at noon and then form a pyramid of diarrhea at 4? Done.
Yeah.
God, sky's the limit.
I do like some of the nastiness is some of the joy that I get.
Also,
like we've had a lot of cruises where you don't like this story, but we had one of our earlier cruises. We had one of the people that was with our group. It was a young, heavy-set black man, and he diarrheaed the walls of his entire stateroom.
A lot of that.
Every wall he diarrheaed the wall.
You gave him the room without a bathroom.
He shit everywhere. And it was one of those things where he shit everywhere, and then he got in it, and then he just started moving it all over the walls.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So he's mentally ill?
Yeah, he was mentally ill. We have a lot of...
Well, people get wasted.
At least go to the balcony.
But people lose their minds, right? Because you have the drink package, and you have the Wi-Fi. That's all you need.
I was joking about the diarrhea pyramid, and you took it to a literal, real place.
We've had it.
Where somebody just did a
We've
whole
had 2 of those.
Finger painting with poop.
We've had 2 of those. We had one guy that got so drunk he just pulled his pants down and he shit in the hall, and then he fell backwards and just his ass just landed directly in his shit.
They kicked him out of the cruise.
They kicked him when they got into the Bahamas. They're like, "You're done. You're a monster, and you're done." And
I don't want to go on a cruise with you.
Hold on.
I think that hurricane stepped in.
It's not us.
Hold on, Nick.
It's not you. Then why are you both wearing diapers?
Damn it.
I fucking see through this
diapers.
S-H-I-T.
And that's why I have the cane.
Yep.
So
blame it on the cane. That's your favorite song.
Hold on. Before you give our audience too much shit, there's another time that when I was working in radio back in 2014.
Yes.
Okay.
That I heard, like, it was an infamous, it was a legend about you and the Bob Carr Performing Arts Center here in Orlando.
Okay.
And
That was before we had Dr. Phillips.
And I remember it was like, they used to do plays before, like Dangerous like Dr.
But they
Phillips.
would book, they would book high-level stand-up, too.
And,
like, occasionally you'd get a good, right? I mean,
and
you remember Bob Carr.
I love Bob Carr.
And I remember back then, I was early in radio, but someone from Bob Carr around there was like, hey, Nick Swartson's audience is crazy. They're gonna fight it.
I still talk about that gig.
Yeah.
Because I remember that was when
At Bob Carr?
Yeah. So that was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm almost 50 now. So like back in the day in my 20s and 30s, my audiences were wild. I mean, like really, it was like, okay, like what's going to go down?
You had a platinum album, dude. That's an insane thing that doesn't happen. That's like that's rarer than landing on a moon.
Well, yeah, but that was also back then. I mean,
still, it's like a thing that will never happen again.
I know, it's really awesome. I'm glad well, that's a whole separate thing, but really quick to Bob Carr. I remember walking backstage with the manager, and I'm looking on the wall, and they have big murals for Lion King, Wicked, Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
And I turned to the guy, I can't remember his name, shame on me, but I go, hey, do you guys do comedy here? And he goes, yeah, sometimes. And I go, oh, no. I go, this is what this venue is known for? And he goes, yeah. And I go, do you have security? And he goes, well, we have ushers. And I go, oh, no. That's not what I asked. Do you have security? And he goes, no, our ushers are fine. And I'm like, oh, God, oh, no. And he goes, it'll be fine. I do the show. We break up a fist fight. And then after the show, we had to stop the show. And then after the show, I'm in my green room, and he's like, whoa. And I go, I told you. And he goes, I go, what else happened? He goes, there's puke all over. People passed out in the bathroom. There's cocaine in the bathroom. There's people missed the toilet. There's shit. It was like fucking chaos. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I told you that. And he goes, our poor ushers. I go, yep. I said it before the show.
And they're all old people. They're all like
yeah, ushers at a show like
that. They're old ladies and old men, normally old ladies. Like we have them, even at the new venue, which is beautiful, and we work with them. We love them. And Bob Carr, we love Bob Carr. Look, I love Bob Carr. Sure. But the ushers at Bob Carr are old ladies. They're little puff head. They're grandmas. Not to, no, I mean, I know that's a thing for you, but they are literally cute little grandmas with little...
What did you say? Is that a thing for me?
You're the grandma guy.
Oh, yeah. Good God.
Sorry.
I meant like that was a fetish.
No, I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry. I always do this.
But I did an impression of the ushers in the midst of like chaos of a show, and then they're just like someone's doing rails of coke in the bathroom, and they're like, "That's not Simba." Just sadly watching something.
And I have seen Lion King, the musical, with my mom and dad at Bob Carr.
I'm sure. Well, when I was there, it was the Lion King.
Yeah.
And it was people were doing lines.
Yeah, I love it.
See what I did there?
So, Nick, I have to ask you.
And you can see that.
You can ask you. This is the perfect one.
Orlando.funnybone.com.
Orlando Funnybone, Friday and Saturday. Dial it down a little bit. Yeah. Let's not Bob Carr it.
Yeah. That's true.
Let's not do a Bob Carr wreck.
So there was a time in society that we didn't know was going on, but now in retrospect, we see it was super unique and it'll never happen again. And it was when society was getting into the internet and into social media, but not all the way in. So
it was more of a positive thing. It was like a megaphone of blasting out good stuff.
It was great, man. It was a blast.
Yeah. And going back to your album, your platinum album, Party, and so that was in 2007. And you had, like Grandma's Boy, Bench Warmers, you were working with Sandler, and I feel like the college crowd was huge and into you, and they were still doing college comedy shows where they don't do as much anymore, And
that wildness, that Bob Carr party vibe was still a kind of a thing, right?
And like frats were still huge, and like the party, and so you were in the midst of that, and you were still doing college shows.
I was one of the kings of that.
And the king of college, so I imagine like touring colleges during that time with that amount of fame in that demographic must have been insane.
It was so fun, man. It was a blast. It was like... Yeah, I mean, that was the golden age of Comedy Central. Mm-mm. So that was, which doesn't even barely exists anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they show reruns, but back then it was like Reno 911.
Yes, Reno.
And then I had Pretend Time. But Reno was the heyday, and that was when colleges, and the difference between me and the other comedians of that era was I was like game on. I would rage.
Yeah.
I would go out. I would go to frats. I would go to parties. It was a blast, dude. I was like all in just, it was so fun. And like you said, the social media wasn't like just biased and mean and crazy. It was just like comedy. You could just like do jokes and have fun. I mean, I still use it for that. But like back then, it was like, it just was a little bit, it was brand new.
Yeah.
And it was just, it felt sillier. You know what I mean?
And it seemed like one-sided, like you could project that you were having a good time and doing crazy stuff, but you didn't have that weird thing that we have now where everybody's like, look what he's doing. What's he really doing?
Yeah, people are more judgmental. Yeah. Like, what's going on here? It's like, no, like you just get fucking...
I'm just having a good time. I'm just blasted having a good time. Now it's more like, well, what's the agenda?
Well, it was so close to the 90s, too.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Party crazy.
And it was like everybody getting canceled for what they did. It was like still, and the older generation wasn't on social media. So it was like old media was still prevalent and still making all the money, but social media was new. I don't know. It was an interesting time, and looking back at it, it was
just fun. What it was, and I kind of grew up in the 80s, grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, and it was just fun. I don't know. It wasn't like everybody wasn't just like on a war path. Like Good God. I mean, I had a bit in my special, Seriously Who Farted, which came on later. It was like 2009. And it was the thing like where if I was at a bar and I would pull my dick out and put it over my wrist and I would ask strangers if they could read my watch. And, you know, it was like a joke and then, you know, it was just goofy. And then like somebody was like, oh, I can't believe you did that. You can't fucking do that. And I was like, I was just drunk and it was just funny. You know what I mean? And like,
I'm like, aware my friends used to do dick comedy.
People used to like pull their balls out.
Yeah.
I remember my friends or my girlfriends would pull out their tits as a joke. And I mean, it was like.
Or one tit. One tit's very funny.
One tit is hilarious, but it was like.
It wasn't a sexual assault. It was just a joke.
It was just like fucking goofy shit, man. And now it's like, good God.
Yeah, you got to get consent before you show the watch.
So,
you know, like.
Nick,
I mean, I obviously don't do that anymore.
No, nobody does. You know?
No, my penis is tired.
But you also started young, and I think that has to do with it too. Which you have an amazing story about your first Comedy Central special. Speaking of Comedy Central, about recording it on a recorder, basically to show Comedy Central that you could do a half an hour. Which is, I would never have the ball. I would think like, oh, they're going to think I'm a joke. I'm never going to send this. But I like the fact that you're like, fuck it. Here's my. I'll just record.
Shot.
Well, for those of you listening, I started stand-up comedy in 1996, right out of high school.
Yeah.
And I was picked after 6 months after my first open microphone. I was picked by HBO as one of the top young comics in the country, and that's after 6 months. And I went to the HBO Aspen Comedy Festival, and then I signed with Chris Rock's manager. I mean, it was like insane. And my first TV spot was on NBC within my first year.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's unheard of.
Yeah.
And then I was one of the youngest, I think I'm the youngest person to ever have a Comedy Central half hour. So I think Bo Burnham might have beat me like later on. But at the time I was like 22 or 23. And I'd done smaller sets on Comedy Central. And the booker's like, hey, we're doing half hours. They're called Comedy Central Presents.
Yeah.
I want you to do a half hour. But he goes, we've got to talk the network into it because they think you're too young. So I'm like, well, I could do it. I got the time. And he goes, I know you do. His name is Chris Young. I owe him so much. He's a great person. And he goes, here's what I need you to do. I need you to record your set because I couldn't get on stage to do a half hour because I was like, it was hard in Los Angeles.
Yeah, who's going to give you that time?
No one's going to give me that time.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, just record it. So I was at Jamie Kennedy's house in his office on an audio cassette recorder, and I spoke my whole half hour into the cassette player. So I was like, okay, and I would do the bit. And I'm like, okay, and then there'll be an applause break, and then I'm blah, blah, and then I just talked out my set without a crowd, and mailed the tape to New York City to Comedy Central, and they listened to it, and then they gave me the half hour, and it was one of the highest rated half hours they ever had.
And that's how Sandler ended up seeing you.
So
too,
then,
right?
cut 2 years later, probably 5 years later, Sandler was watching TV in bed with his wife. And they reran my Comedy Central half hour, and he wrote my name down. He went to the office, and he goes, who is this kid? He goes, he's so funny. And they were like, that's this new kid on Comedy Central, Nick Swardson. And I was doing jokes about my grandma at the time, and he goes, I have this movie called Grandma's Boy. And he heard I was a writer, and he goes, call him up. So my manager called me, and he goes, Adam Sandler wants to meet you. And I'm like, what? And I went in, and we talked about Grandma's Boy, and I rewrote it. And the rest is history. Then he was like, holy shit.
That's crazy. I love stories like that where, like...
But you have an endless supply of them, seemingly, right? Like, I mean, these are just amazing wins happening.
Oh, God. It was
just
crazy.
happening.
How do you get the confidence being that young, starting, because it's funny, speaking of Adam
19,
Sandler...
18 or 19 when you started?
I started when I just turned 19.
Like, I heard Adam Sandler one time in an interview talk about how he got a crazy opportunity really young, and I wonder if that's why he liked you, because he saw the same energy, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, like...
Well, I had my head on my shoulders, and I'm, like, genuinely who I am, and so is Sandler, and he kind of gravitates towards people that are, like, genuinely who they are. Like, he's
real.
Not affected... I'm not affected. I've had tons of success very young. And I'm still the exact same dude. Still talk to my friends from third grade. Still, you know what I mean? Awesome. Like, I don't fly private. I don't even own a car. I mean, I gave my car up. Like, I just,
you don't own a car?
No. Like,
how do you
I gave my car. Like, I just Uber or walk.
Okay.
I don't like. There's nothing. You know. I don't know. I'm just. Anyway, so Sandler. And then when he realized what I could do creatively. And then the irony is I grew up watching him on Saturday Night Live. So Sandler, Spade, Schneider, all these guys are a part of my sensibility because I just was obsessed with SNL. So when I started writing for them, they were like, how do you know our voices? When I co-wrote Benchwarmers with Sandler. It was his idea. And he gave the script to David Spade, and Spade called me, and I didn't know him. And he goes, I've never read a script where somebody wrote me that well. And he goes, I don't even know you. And I go, I know, but I know your sensibility, I know your style. And he's like, that's so insane. And now David's, they're all my best friends, but, it was just, my dad was a writer, and when I started stand-up, I was really focused. I didn't take it lightly. I was very driven. I was like, okay, I'm in Minnesota. What's the fastest way I can get out of here and get on TV? So I go, the fastest way I can do that is being clean, and every joke or story I have, I can tell in any state, and it'll work. So whether I'm in Miami, New York City, Hollywood, or Seattle, I can tell this, and it'll work. And I wrote my ass off, dude. And that was my mantra.
But you started off like focusing on doing clean comedy.
Yeah, I was totally clean, and I was just telling stories about my cat and stuff like that, just anything that would work anywhere, because a lot of the local comics were drinkers, doing drugs, they were doing really provincial local stuff, and they just kind of were comfortable and complacent. Yeah. And I was like, I want to get the fuck out of here, man. Yeah. I want to go and do some serious shit.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to do it here. What's hilarious? And Dad being a writer, and he was an investigative journalist, right?
Yeah, he was really brilliant. Rest in peace. But he was super. He was down, dude. He was like, go for it, man. He was never.
The more stories you told about your dad on multiple, like either articles or videos that Tom and I would watch, I'd become like, do you think that that's why you had that that gritty, okay, David Spade, I already know this guy. I've downloaded everything up here. I can write this guy up because you got that from your dad, this intense quest to tell the right story, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but he taught me something really good too. I don't know if he thought of it, but he said, you learn so much more listening than talking. So when I would meet people, whoever it was, I would just absorb, what they were saying and who they were. You know what I mean? And that's how you learn as a writer to write characters and develop characters and give something a voice and cater to a voice when you're writing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I always did that. And, if you're a good listener, that's attractive to people. Nobody wants the guy that's just like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. It's all about
waiting
me.
to talk.
Yeah, it's fun to watch those people. But, I could navigate myself when I would go into these high-end circles. I would just treat everybody like they were people. I wouldn't hold anybody, to a higher standard, but I would just listen. You know what I mean? I remember one of my favorite moments is David Spade brought me to a party at Brad Pitt's house.
And Christ.
So that's
a sentence, right?
Wow. This is years ago. So this is before I did Just Go With It and knew Jennifer Aniston and all these people. So David Spade brought me as his plus one. So Brad Pitt was throwing a birthday party for Jennifer Aniston. It was already public that they were breaking up. So this was their last hurrah together. And it was amicable, obviously. So I'm in Brad Pitt's kitchen. It's me, Brad, Sandler, Chris Rock, and Spade. And so Adam is candidly talking to Brad about the breakup. And he goes, hey, man, how you doing? And Brad's like, not great, man. He goes, I really love her. She's my friend still. But he goes, it's really hard. I love her so much. And he just stopped in the middle of his sentence. And he goes, hey, I'm sorry. And he turns to me and I go, what? And he goes, that's really rude of me. My name's Brad. Welcome to my house. If you want anything in the kitchen, help yourself to whatever you want. Just wanted to, sorry, I was just babbling. And I'm like, no, you're good. And he's like, yeah, well, just so you know, welcome to my house. I'm like, yeah, totally. Thanks, man. And then he just went about talking and
you got an intro off the breakup?
Yeah, but
that's wild.
But but my point is I didn't interject myself into that circle. I just sat there and listened to Brad, and he's so down to earth and super cool too. But it was one of those things where I was just listening. You know what I mean?
It's crazy that Brad Pitt even introduces himself to someone. It was like, if you're there at the party,
that was bonkers.
You're like, like I would just assume everybody knows who I am. Like, no need to say, hey, I'm Brad.
And I never think of celebrities of ever talking to other celebrities and sharing their human qualities or their problems. You know what I mean? Like, the idea of Adam Sandler talking to Brad Pitt about a breakup doesn't even seem real in my mind because they're your buddies. So that's wild.
Yeah, it's a misconception. Like, people, are like, oh, Hollywood, like, everyone's so fake, everyone's blah, 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 blah. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm the same dude from St. Paul. Like, Hollywood isn't a factory of robots that are built. They're people. Like, Brad Pitt's from Missouri, dude. He's from a small town in Missouri. And he still is that dude, So it's like, it's funny, that misconception where it's like, people are fake everywhere, by the way. Don't act like everybody's above being fake. You can go to any small town and people are like, hey, how you doing? Well, you're just amazing. And then they walk away and go like, fuck that person. That motherfucker, I'll fucking cut their fucking teeth out with a fork.
You're doing the right accent, and I don't want to waste your time, but is it true that you are obsessed with fireworks? Do you like fireworks?
I do. I mean, it's not as much as it used to be, but yeah, I was going
to try to get him on a rail gun. I was trying to get you a rail gun before you get out of here. We work with a fireman, like a fireworks man.
Fireworks man?
Yeah. Our company called Pyrospot, they advertise with us.
And
in Florida.
They have these Japanese rail guns that they have to sell in 2 parts because they're, like, not legal. And you load it in and you hold it like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger and you shoot it into the sky and it rotates. You have to put batteries into it. It's fucking amazing.
That's amazing.
I'll get you one.
I've gravitated away from them because of, I've seen so many viral videos of fireworks gone awry.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one of my favorite stories really quick. So California, they're illegal.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously with fires and stuff like that, it's like, it's psychotic to shoot them off. But so me and my buddy would go to Vegas where they're totally legal, and they would have stores kind of like a Walgreens, but it was all fireworks.
Yep.
And if you let's say you spent $100, you would get $100 free of fireworks. So we would spend $1,000, and then we would get $1,000 for free. So we would drive back with $2,000 worth of fireworks. So Zach Galifianakis is one of my best friends. He's having a barbecue for 4th of July. So I show up, and I have a box, this big box, and it's a grand finale. So Zach's having people over at this barbecue. So I take this box in the backyard, and Zach goes, what's that? And I go, it's this grand finale box. I go, can I light it off? And Zach's like, okay, is that going to be like crazy? And I'm like, I think it'll be fine.
That's what you say.
Yeah. And so anyway, this is before viral videos.
Yeah.
So anyway, I light the box, and obviously I've been drinking, and I watch the box. It was a scene out of a movie. I watched the box after I light the fuse, tip over.
The old tip
point over. Into the party. And I realize it's too late to do anything. And I turn to the backyard patio and I just go, run! And all of a sudden, it is Armageddon, dude. And it's just fireballs. Just beep, 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 beep. Rapid fire spraying everywhere. People are screaming, ducking. Zach is screaming at me. And it finally died down. And it was... And I remember I was sobbing. I was laughing so hard. Nobody got hurt, thank God. And Zach was livid. And he goes, that's it. No more fireworks.
Yeah, that's true. They do tip over sometimes. You gotta watch that.
I think they put some stands
very flat in Florida. We don't have that. Very flat here.
Yeah, it was not flat in that backyard.
So, real quick, I'm interested in going back to you starting off clean because you were a wild child growing up, which I've heard a lot of the stories, including, setting a house on fire on the Molotov cocktail.
Hey, that's a good pivot. That's adjacent to fireworks.
And you've talked a lot about being expelled and stuff. So
that was a key. That was a really key part of it. So my parents got divorced when I was 13, which is such a great age to go through that. Yeah, what could go wrong there? Dysfunction. So I started really being rebellious and crazy. My older brother and older sister were gone at college. So it's just me and my mom, essentially. My dad lived down the street in an apartment. So there were just no rules. My mom was working, and so I started smoking weed and then drinking and then, everything, like anything. Me and my buddies, I was with the crazy crowd, and we were just wild. I mean, stealing cars, anything. We would break into anything. We were just fucking crazy people. And then I got busted. I started selling drugs. I had gangs like threatening me on territory.
Jesus.
Wars. It was nuts, dude. So then I was smoking so much weed, and then I smoked a blunt in school, and the police came in. I went to an inner city school, so there were cops always ready. They break in, arrest me and my friends, court-ordered rehab.
Wow.
And so then I started my junior year, and my friends either got expelled or transferred to different schools. So I had no friends. So I took theater to get an easy grade because my grade point average was so bad. So I just took acting on a fluke. And my acting teacher, Jan Mandel, who I still talk to, she was like, hey, there's something special about you. Like, you're really, really good. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, whatever. And she's like, no. There's something about you. And she put me in the advanced touring company. And I just, my roles in the plays, we would write these plays and all this stuff. And I would just kill. And the crowds there were really tough. And I would just murder, like they would just love me. And I got addicted. So the addiction to drugs was replaced by the adrenaline of acting.
Okay, yeah, all right.
So then I was doing improv, and then after high school, I was like, I want to try stand-up, and then I was immediately addicted.
That's it.
And that's why I succeeded so quickly with the mindset of be clean, be broad, get the fuck out of here. And I just committed. I was just writing my tits off.
What do you think it was that she saw in you that made you such a good natural actor? Because you've been in so many movies and you do such a good job without lots of training and even like,
You don't seem like you have any fear.
Yeah.
Well,
like
that's
confidence.
one thing you have to have is you have to believe in yourself. And that sounds like really corny and cliche. But it's really true. For anybody listening out there, it's like confidence is everything. You really just have to believe in yourself. And I quit drinking and I don't really do any drugs. I'll take like edibles at night when I go to sleep or something. But like, I just was like, it just kind of muddled everything. Like I was drinking a lot to I love to drink. It was a blast.
Yeah.
But it's like, you just have to have confidence in yourself and really like not rely on anything else except who you are. And like, I was lucky enough to go through a lot of shit really young where I was able to go to rehab and clean up and be like, okay, I've got to like clear my head and really, I drove across country doing stand up by myself and spent a lot of time with myself. And it's important to do, you know what I mean? It's just to build your confidence in who you are. It's really, really
A lot of people,
important.
though, these days, they don't take time for themselves,
and especially these days, I was lucky enough to grow up without the internet, without social media, which I don't dislike. I have a blast with social media. But it's like, it's also, when you wake up in the morning, don't grab your phone. Don't go online. Don't, take time for yourself. Take a breath. Just, wake up. Like, don't fall victim to just, don't read comments and don't listen to, there's so much noise out there. And it's like, you've got to, take time and build confidence in yourself. It's really important.
Yeah, man.
Nick, before you leave, one of the funniest stories I've ever heard you tell is about your grandma seeing Grandma's Boy.
Yeah, it's a true story.
And
it makes me uncomfortable a little bit. It does. And knowing that it's real.
It's funny because I would have thought just like you that there's no way she's ever going to come across this movie.
By the way, it got to make you insanely proud that people still bring that movie up all the time.
Yeah, I love Grandma's Boy.
People love that movie.
Yeah. And
people say that movie. The people they're like, why can't we get movies like Grandma's Boy again?
Well, I'm doing that. I'm working on that. I have 2 new scripts. One of them just got verbally greenlit.
Hey.
And I actually have 3 scripts. One of them's verbally greenlit, and the other 2 are in the process. I'm going to get them made for sure. I'm going to bring back rated R comedy.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and it seemed like there wasn't any movies like that back then, and it was total freedom that we all watched it and we're like, whoa, we've never seen something like this. Like as a studio wasn't, the older production people were like, hey, well, I don't get what's going on here.
Funny is my dad loved it too.
Generations.
It wasn't for him, but he watched it with me, and we both agreed
it's a comedy. It's not for anybody. It's for people that like comedy.
Yeah. But they weren't making comedies back then like that.
No, it was it was a really low budget, no expectation. They didn't know how to market it. This is pre-internet. So it was like nobody knew what to do with the movie, but it tested huge. It tested up there with Superbad and all these movies. I mean, it was a massive, but they didn't know how to market it. And so then once it hit DVD, it spread like wildfire. And I knew it would. I'm like, I knew it was going to bomb in the box office. But it's one of my favorites. And, the movies I'm doing nothing will ever be Grandma's Boy. So you can't hold it up there. But it's like, it's from my brain, so it's funny. They're great. They're really, really funny.
That's awesome, man. And congrats on it. I'm glad you're bringing that back. That's going to be killer.
And did you film Happy Gilmore 2 yet?
It comes out in July 25.
Okay, awesome. And
very soon, a couple months.
I've got a small part in it, but it's really important to the story.
There you go.
Can't wait to see it.
That's all you get.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
Orlando.funnybone.com.
Orlando all weekend. I'm not going to be back here for a while because I'm going to be off the road. So this is one of your last times to see Toilet Head.
Yeah.
For sure, your last time to see my Toilet Head show. It's fucking awesome. I've got Norm Macdonald stories. I talk about Grandma's Boy. I talk about Reno. I talk about everything. It's me. It's Swardson. Game on.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, man. Hey, thanks for being here, man.
I'll see you on the next cruise. Tattoo his face.
We'll do it. Guys, we'll see you on the Friday Free Show.